Hello, and welcome to the most thankful episode of the Dohyo to date. Today we're thankful for starchy foods, country-style gravy, and an amazing November Basho. SHOUTOUTS!
Throw the salt, get in the ring. Welcome to the dojo.
Hello, and welcome back to the Dohyo here on Mr. J Wag's channel. And welcome to all of the new people. So to those of you who have jumped over from Jason's channel, hello and welcome. We hope we're going to have a fun time talking sumo. And to those of you who've been here all along, welcome back. It's good to see you. I just want to let you know that Mr. J Wag's channel does not just cover sumo. We have this show called The Dohyo, but we have other shows. And in fact, I have a big artistic project coming up that hopefully we'll be bringing to YouTube before the end of the year. But rest assured, anything that is sumo related will be labeled The Dohyo. And for those of you who want to know like all the dirt and want me to spill all the tea about Jason's channel, well... Alright, we have an amazing November Basho to talk about, including the Takakeisho II show of my dreams. But first we got some sumo shoutouts. Alright, so our first sumo shoutout is to a couple of guys who are going Intai. Two guys who were in the top division when I started watching and now are no longer in any division as they are retired. First, Gagamaru, who is one of the Georgians from the country of Georgia, like Tochinoshin. He spent some time up in the Makauchi division and he's seems like a real cool, fun guy. We're going to miss him and his like just sort of like working class Bruno energy that we don't get a lot anymore in sumo. And sadly, Koto Shogiku, who was actually an Ozeki when I started watching sumo, and I've sort of been watching the last part of the arc of his career. But for those of you who have been fans for over a decade, know all about this man's wonderful career. He's a real class act, of course, won a Yusho a few years ago. Back then, when a Japanese citizen had not won a sumo tournament in years and years and years, he was the first one to sort of break the streak of the American and Pacific Islander and Mongolian dominance of the time. So Koto Shogiku, sir, one more backbend, and you will be missed. Another sumo shoutout, of course, to Jason Harris. Most of you know him, and if you don't, you need to go over and check out Jason's All-Sumo channel. I had the incredible privilege to be able to guest host. Jason has never had a guest host before on his channel. I got to guest host for days 5, 6, 9, and 10, so there will be a link below if you want to go over and check out what it sounds like when I don't have the benefit of editing. But yes, Jason has been a YouTube fixture, a sumo YouTube legend for, I think, about a decade now, so if you do not have a fun way to watch the sumo, please go over and check out Jason's All-Sumo channel. We have a shout out here from my buddies over at Grand Sumo Breakdown. They are doing their annual Rikishi popularity quiz. So if you have opinions about Rikishi and their popularity, then please check out the link below and fill that out to create an amazing data set so we can learn more about who you are, the sumo fans out there, and who you all like in sumo. I know who I'm voting for. And one other shout out to a group of people who I don't think get a lot of shout outs. I want to give a shout out to the scheduling team. They took what could have been a lot of lemons in a basho that did not have a lot of top stars participating, but instead gave us a wonderful lemonade of 15 days of wonderful, exciting sumo. Sumo shout out! Alright, so the big story of this basho, Takakeisho II show. Nailed it. Gonna say I nailed it on the predictions. Of course, if we all remember, I originally chose Hakuho, and then he went Kyuto 2 days before. But then I said that Takakeisho would be the one to win the U show, and he did. It's his second U show. It's his first as an Ozeki. It's the first one by an Ozeki since 2017. So many, many cool things happening now with Takakeisho. Congratulations. I did not know that Takakeisho was sort of a not necessarily popular Rikishi amongst a lot of people in the online sumo community. That really, really surprised me. I love him. He's my Fire Hydrant love. He's my favorite Rikishi. I try not to play too hard favorites on the channel, but yeah, I was very, very excited that he won the tournament, and I hope he makes Yokozuna. We will see what happens from here on out. I tend to be a realist, especially with my favorites. So much just depends on health, but he's managed to put together a couple very good basho in a row. He has a Junyo show, now then a Yu show. They've said if he wins the next tournament, he is going to be a Yokozuna, but we'll talk about the January basho in a second. And in fact, we are going to be doing a whole Takakeisho episode before the next Basho. So we're going to be diving in depth about Takakeisho, and sort of where we think he's going to be going from here. So look out for that. Terunofuji, of course, had the June Yusho, answered a bunch of questions for me in terms of was he going to be able to make all 15 days, but the question is always going to be how long will those knees continue to work? And even on day 15, when he was getting into the playoff match, he was very, very high during that second match in the playoff match. He left limping a little bit. Is he ever going to be able to complete, say, an Ozeki run, which is going to require at least one more dominant performance? And even then, should he get Ozeki, is he ever going to be able to put together 2 dominant Basho in a row to be able to make the Yokozuna standard? The question being, do you really want to promote a Yokozuna who has that many sort of pre-existing ouchies and joint injuries when Yokozuna, of course, can go Kyujo whenever they seem fit? I, of course, last time said Kakuryu was going to go Kyujo, and he did. I did not expect Hakuho to go Kyujo last time, but he ended up doing so. He looked so good in training, I thought he might be making a strong comeback. They both have been warned very strongly by the Yokozuna Deliberation Council that they must participate. Warning, of course, being like the middle level of like being yelled at by the Yokozuna Deliberation Council. The first one being sort of like a friendly emoji and like the thumbs up, and the last one being sort of like the angry face emoji. This one's sort of like the, you need to participate in the next one. The other part of the story of this tournament was that the other Ozeki didn't show up. They both went Kyujo. Now we have a situation where every single Ozeki from the start of 2017, which is the last Ozeki Yusho before this one, we do not have a single Ozeki that has completed more than 2/3 of their tournaments. Not one that has completed more than 2/3. The historic, since the modern era has begun, the historic standard, of course, has been between 80 and 90% completion. So this is furthering the idea that for some reason the Ozeki are not finishing tournaments at the rate they used to. 3 of our last 4 Ozeki have gone Kyujo in their very first tournament at Ozeki. Now, is this just a matter of people not making Ozeki runs until they're a little bit older? I wouldn't say so. Takakeisho, still very young at 24, Asanoyama, 26, and Shodai is not an old man at 29, and Asanoyama and Shodai had showed no history of injury before this tournament. Is it that Ozeki are finally starting to take care of themselves a little bit better and willing to push the limits of the Kataban system? Let me know what you think in the comments. Why now do we have such Ozeki absence? That made sense. Now it's time for everyone's favorite part of the recap. 'Cause J-Wags was wrong.
J-Wags was wrong.
Now, J-Wags was not too wrong on too much in this tournament. We actually had a pretty good tournament in terms of the predictions. I seem to be right in the macro, but very, very wrong on a few micro predictions. Number 1, the first. I said that Enho was going to get Kachikoshi. The Magical Lotus Prince, of course, did not do well at all. Did not get his first win until he had already gotten his Makekoshi, and then came back to win a few more matches. But yeah, I got a feeling Enho's taking that midnight train to Juryo, so hopefully he can get back on his game. Hakuho getting healthy maybe will bring him a little bit of luck and a little bit of gambarization, but yeah, J-Wags was wrong on that one. But J-Wags was right in that the Pixies were going to have a major readjustment in this tournament. All of the wrestlers who were 300 pounds and below got Makekoshi. I said they were all going to do it except Enho, but they all ended up getting it. This leads me to my next question for the room. Do we think there are any of the Pixies, that's like Wakataka Kage, Tobizaru, Kotoeko, Hoshoryu, and of course Terutsuyoshi, Enho, Ishiura, those guys, and Midori Fuji who will be coming up, are any of them going to make more than 2 tournaments and Sadyaku in the next year? I predicted that all 3 of the Rikishi with the prefix Taka, Takayasu, Takanosho, and Takakeisho would win 10 plus matches. They all got Kachikoshi, but only one of them got more than 8 wins, and that was, of course, Yusho winner Takakeisho. And, of course, Takara Fuji is not a Taka, he's a Takara. One of my other sort of macro predictions was that we are starting to have a bunch of people age out of sumo right now at roughly the same time. We've had a lot of Intai, a lot of retirements, but I said in my sumo 3-way parlay that these 3 gentlemen were going to get Kachikoshi, Endo, Chiyonokuni, and Tamawashi, and they all did, and Chiyonokuni ended up getting a Fighting Spirit Award, so awesome. And now I'm going to throw a question to you. Who over 30 do you see being a Sanyaku regular in the upcoming year? The only two I can possibly see are Takayasu and Endo. Anyone else? Throw them in the comments. And now it's time to honor some excellent performances in the November Basho. It's time for Uncle Sumo's Attaboys. First Attaboy, Hokuto Fuji. Oh, dude. Now, Hokuto Fuji is not the most consistent Rikishi. There are often matches where all four of his limbs are going in all four different directions. But in this tournament, he faced a very full Sanyaku slate, full Joijin. Ended up getting 11 wins, going from 4-4, winning completely out, including that amazing match against Takara Fuji that turned into 2 matches. Ended up, in my opinion, winning both of them, but still not being drained by that match and being able to finish as strong as he did. He's probably going to be up in the Sanyaku next tournament, if not Maegashira 1. So, Hokuto Fuji, great tournament. Attaboy. Shima no Umi, another Attaboy. Shima no Umi, of course, was a young, exciting wrestler who suffered a huge injury in Makashita, then worked his way back up all the way from the bottom. Sounds a little Terunofuji-esque, yes? And then eventually broke through with 2 consecutive Juryo Yusho, a very, very rare feat. He got a Kanto show in his Makauchi debut, but he hasn't necessarily been breaking through in any of the tournaments. He, of course, was in the tournament right up until the final weekend. Didn't quite do it, lost his last 3 matches, but still, great tournament from Shima no Umi. Attaboy. Here was another prediction that I nailed. I said that the top 3 Maegashira ranks, so the top 6 Maegashira, were all going to get Makekoshi except one, Daisho. And I nailed it. Just that's right there, on the head. Got it. Ting, 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 ting. I don't get many. I have to celebrate the ones I get. But Daisho is a guy who I've always appreciated for his consistency. He seems to be at the point where his peak sumo is coming in right at a time when a lot of the older guys have aged their way out of the Sanyaku. He seemed a little hurt last tournament when he made Sekiwake, so I'm very happy to see him bounce back. Attaboy Daisho. Tochinoshin! Got 9 wins, and it appears that at least once or twice he has enough juice left in the knee to pull out the sky crane and lift and shift. So Tochinoshin, you are going to be in the top division for a while longer, and that makes me so happy. Attaboy. Aqua. Okay, I did not know much about him going into this tournament, but he finished with a 9-6, and then I found out after the tournament that he was in a car accident on day 5. And at that point, he was like 1-4, and then he went on a tear and finished 9-6. So Aqua, way to get your head back in the game. Gambarize, finish up. Attaboy. And our last Attaboy, everyone's favorite cherry blossom Mowashid friend, Ura is back. Ura's back in Juryo. He is one of my favorites. If you do not know the beauty and wonder of Ura, just go somewhere else on YouTube. When you're done with this, search for Ura clips and enjoy the wonder. Hopefully he's going to be back up in Makuuchi soon, finish 9-6 at the bottom of Juryo. So let's hope he does well in the upcoming year. Attaboy, Ura. So in terms of what happened in this Basho and how it plays into the larger story of sumo, obviously Takakeisho is now in a position where in the next tournament he could end up becoming a Yokozuna with a Yusho win, or possibly a very, very excellent second place. Terunofuji, with one more dominant tournament, maybe as few as 11 wins, would get Terunofuji back to Ozeki. And then we have, not only that, we have the 2 Yokozuna who must perform or retire. Well, okay, so that's cool. And then we have Ozeki who are now absent, and then they're going to be... So every single person in the Sanyaku, it seems, is going to have some sort of major storyline to be bringing into January. So we're going to talk about that a lot more in the predictions and preview for the January Basho, so we're going to save a little for that. We're also going to talk a little bit more about the overall theme of the year, which is a historical absence of Yokozuna and Ozeki, which has created such a weird void of power in the sumo world. I have not been following sumo for all that long, but from all of the history I have seen, sumo seems to be a story of alpha dogs sort of fighting it out at the top. Maybe there's one, maybe there's 2 or 3 of them fighting out at the top for dominance. But I've never seen something like this, where you have free-for-alls every tournament in a year and you're not really sure who's going to win. No repeat winners in the entire year. This is a very fascinating time for sumo, and I am so excited to be watching. Alright, thank you so much for coming back to the Dohyo. To all of the new people, thank you so much for joining us here on the Dohyo. We've got a bunch more episodes coming up. We have, of course, our year in review that'll be coming out for Christmas. We're going to have a whole Takakeisho episode breaking down his style, how his style has advanced since he's broken into the top division, and the long-awaited Tama no Umi epic will be coming. Alright, everyone have a happy Thanksgiving. This has been such a weird year, and I know that a lot of us are having non-traditional Thanksgivings, not with the people we love. So I'm sending out just love and thanks to you from the Dohyo. I hope you've had a good day and you're having a good season. Alright, everyone stay healthy, stay safe, stay strong, and I will see you next time on the Dohyo. Dohyo channel. So you stuck around to hear the dirt about Jason's channel. Well, I mean, there's not really a lot of dirt. Those of you who have actually seen Jason's channel, he's one of the nicest human beings ever. He apparently has caught a couple of the Dohyo videos and liked them. He shared a few of them on Twitter. We got in touch over Twitter, and then he was like, hey, do you want to come in and sub in for a few days? And I'm like, yeah. And so that's what happened. It was intimidating. 98% of the people who responded were very cool, very supportive, had very helpful hints on how I could improve the product. And also there were some really awesome burns that got thrown my way. They seem to be in different categories. One of my favorite categories was just like, hey, you're doing great. You should buy a lot of expensive equipment, but I don't know how much that is. That was a fun one. There was a large percentage of the people in the comments who just baffled by the idea that someone other than Jason was talking, so there was a lot of that. And then there were just some people who were just like, yeah, we're just gonna go for it. My favorite burns, there was the one who said 100% total tool, because I'm not 100% total tool. I'm actually 98% love, 2% Velcro. But my absolute favorite burn had to be the guy who just said, like, Jason, like, this coming from a place of love, delete the channel. He was so offended by just me pointing a camera at my TV and talking about sumo that he wants 10 years of a channel just gone. It's just like, oh no, dude, Jason, just, if it can't be the thing I want it to be, delete it. And for any of you who are like, oh, that's harsh, that must have hurt your feelings. It's like, well, I mean, it's not fun to get yelled at. Okay, it's a little fun. Keep in mind, my biggest break in theater was understudying a guy who was nominated for a Tony for the role I was understudying. So I got to be on stage, listening to the audience, hear my name getting called, and them all going, oh. Curtain goes up. So, yeah, I'm used to stepping into the shoes of people who are much more talented than me. Will I be hanging out on Jason's channel again? We will see. We are going to talk about things this week, obviously when things slow down a little bit from the holiday. The main reason I would not be able to continue with the channel is that I tend to watch sumo live, and my sumo feed is live. So when I stay up to comment on the sumo, that means it starts either at 2 or 3 in the morning, depending on daylight savings time. So just doing that for 4 days this tournament was weird, just getting your head around Tokyo time, and then just sort of living that for a couple weeks all the time, trying to like meet the expectations of like 50,000 people I've never met. So yes, we will obviously see how things go in the future, but yeah, Jason is an amazing person, and all of you who are on Jason's channel, you're in a very, very good place. And if you haven't been to Jason's channel, go now and listen. He's great. I guess I'll... yeah. Happy Thanksgiving.